Fear! Not just Emmanuel Macron won the French election today. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. In this video, we're going to confirm Emmanuel Macron won another term as president of France. And we're going to look at why he won. Nobody cheated as far as we know. And if there's the slightest possibility of that, Marine Le Pen will never let that go. But from all indications, Macron won because the people of France put him back in there. And I come before you today to say to the French people, you ought to be ashamed of yourselves. And make no mistake about it, vous devrez avoir beaucoup d'honte de vous. First, I want to shout out to the sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views, link in the description. Be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down to the bottom for that link. Lots of good merchandise there, including this t-shirt, the trumpetator saying, I'll be back. And I want to remind you, I am a published author. Look for 2 new books, Matthew's Run and Matthew's War, available right now at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, to name 2. They tell the story of what our country and our world, including France, might look like after 380-odd years of wokeness, and about a cyborg with a conscience who also just doesn't like to be used, leading a rebellion against it. And soon you'll be able to buy those books right in our store. Eh bien, mesdames, mesdemoiselles, messieurs, l'examen post-mortem de l'élection française commence. Today's French election was technically a runoff. But that's the way elections run in France. Nobody gets a clear majority in the first round, so France must always hold a runoff. I did not have projections earlier than now because any reliable projections would be illegal. That's right. Exit polling is illegal in France. In fact, French law tells its media to keep absolutely silent about elections when going into one. They made a judgment that trying to predict an election will end up manipulating it. Projections are now available from The Guardian and the National Office of ABC News. Projections waited until now because polls close in Paris at 8 p.m. local time. Because that is Western European time, Paris is 6 hours ahead of New York. Therefore, polls closed in Paris at 2 p.m. Eastern time. They closed an hour earlier in rural precincts. At last report, Emmanuel Macron had 58% of the vote to Marine Le Pen's 42%. Le Pen points out that this is as much as any candidate of her persuasion has ever won. Nevertheless, it's still a loss. She has conceded the election and Macron has claimed victory. They won't have the official results until tomorrow, but no one expects that margin to reverse. Why did Macron win the French election this year? Because he struck fear into the hearts of his countrymen. And that he could do that so easily shows that French people are afraid of independence, afraid to assert their culture, afraid to stand on what it means to be French, and afraid of their own shadows. To take the prize example, Macron, back in January, said he wanted to make life miserable for anyone refusing the jab against the virus that shall remain nameless. By the way, to save time, I'll create an acronym for you. VTSRN, pronounced Vitzern. To that end, he put in place the kind of restrictions that already have Americans close to rebellion, or perhaps we're just practicing a quiet civil disobedience. No one seems to want to say for sure what the French are doing. All we know is that Emmanuel Macron put those measures into place and still won today's French election. Incidentally, the Centers for Disease Control tells people, if you don't have the jab, don't go to France. But that's as much because they rate France as having a high level of Vitzern as because the French police are likely to quarantine you or jail you or bar you or expel you for not having the jab. But all that is incidental. In blunt fact, fear of independence decided the French election today, as if anyone had any doubt. Macron took to the stage to claim victory. And what was playing in the background? Not La Marseillaise that tells you to grab a weapon and march until your furrows run red with mingled blood. Not the badass anthem with the children singing in chorus that they too shall enlist when their elders lie dead in battle. Oh no, they have to play the continental anthem of Europe. That's right, you had people singing new, politically correct lyrics to Beethoven's Ode to Joy. That's no ode to joy. That is a song of subservience. And that France, the country of Napoleon Bonaparte and Charles de Gaulle, should come to this. That rumbling you hear at Les Invalides is Napoleon spinning in his tomb. As I said at the beginning, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. Or as they say it in their language, they ought to have shame. And a lot of it. Marine Le Pen said she would focus next on legislative elections. That's all very well. At least France has separation of powers, which Israel, for example, does not have. But today's French election shows that the French are not ready to reclaim their independence as the British did. For shame. Or as they literally say in French, what shame? Quelle honte pour cet grand coup de déshonneur. Links in the description of the article to the best rendition of La Marseillaise you are likely to find anywhere on YouTube, and to conservative news and views. I have another link to the awesome online store, as I mentioned. And if you like what you've heard, you can like this video and subscribe to this channel. This is Terry A. Hurlbut, delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.